In this video, I will compare the Zcam E2F6 with the Red Komodo. Okay guys, finally I had the chance to get the Red Komodo and compare it with my Zcam E2F6. For those who are new to this channel, I am Sandro and I make reviews about camera equipment and its workflow. And today I have two pre-order camera models, my Zcam E2F6 and the Red Komodo Stormtrooper version of a good friend. He has a production company and rental called John Doe Films, based in Koblenz in Germany. He gave me the Red Komodo for a weekend. Big thanks at this point, and if you're interested in renting a Red Komodo, make sure to check out John Doe Films. The homepage is linked in the description. So for today I will show you both camera bodies, the mounting options, and I will walk through the questions you posted and talk about the pros and cons of the topics. And of course, I will test the workflow in an uncontrolled environment. So, let's take a closer look. Both cameras have quite the same cube-shaped body. Starting with the Komodo. At the back it has two Canon battery slots and three connection ports. You have an X port, then a SDI and a DC in port. The X port is for accessories like a wooden camera B box to get timecode, for example, or use the camera control function with a small HD monitor. On the left side it has a headphone and mic 3.5-inch port and a single C fast card slot. On the right side you have the power switch and a tiny antenna. And of course a record button. On both sides are fans and you can look through the camera. Better keep it away from water or rain. On the bottom you have two screws inserts which are very close to each other. On the top you have a big square-shaped touchscreen and 5 buttons. Menu, up, down, select and replay. And under the NATO rail there is a multiple connector for the red handle. And this connector you can use for other extensions like a USB-C connector to record probably on SSDs. And on the front you have the 6K global shutter sensor with a Canon RF mount. And two tiny internal mics on the left and right side. Going to the Zcam body. On the top you have a big record button and a small menu screen and 5 tiny buttons for menu, ISO and function, shutter and up, EV and down and an OK button. On the right side you have a 3.5 mic and headphone port and 5 screw inserts. On the bottom you have 2 screw inserts. On the back you have a single Sony NPF battery slot and 10 connection ports. You have a DC in for a V-mount, then a USB-C to record on a SSD, a versatile LAN connector to control the camera or stream, then you have a Wi-Fi antenna connection port. On the top you have a HDMI out port. We have a power out, a remote link port to use, for example, the camera control function with the Atomos Ninja 5. A 5-pin XLR port and 2 4-pin control connections. If your system is based on SDI, you can use the Zcam SDI converter, which matches on the battery slot, or you can mount it on any side with 2 screw inserts. On the left side you have 4 custom buttons and the power button, which is the playback button on the same time when pressing it for 1 second. And you have a single C-fast card slot on the left side. And on the front you have the full frame 6K sensor with the interchangeable mount system. You are able to switch between PL, Micro Four Thirds, Leica M, a turbo mount and a Sony E mount so far. The EF and PL mount have a slot for an electronic ND filter. If you want to know more about these mounts or the ND filter, check out my reviews in the description. That's the outside so far. Let's start up the cameras. The fans of the Komodo start for a second, but they are not that loud, you know, from other Red cameras. The Z-Cam takes about 8 seconds booting time and the Komodo about 28. To change the ISO, for example, you have to tap the ISO shortcut once and slide where you want. The Z-Cam takes more times pressing buttons to get where you want. Let's talk about resolutions and frame rates. The Komodo has 2 codecs, Red RAW and ProRes, and the Z-Cam has 4. H.264, H.265, ProRes and Z-RAW. Both cameras start to crop on higher frame rates. This is Komodo 6K open gate. This is 6K widescreen. This is 6K 16:9. This is 5K. This is 4K. And this is 2K, which is almost full HD. This is Z-Cam open gate. This is Z-Cam 6K. This is 6K widescreen. This is 5K anamorphic. This is 5K with 60 frames. And this is 4K 120 frames. And this is full HD 120 frames. To avoid the crop with the Komodo, you have to switch to ProRes codec. Then you are able to record 2K 120 frames per second without crop. One bigger difference, you have to make the black shading, which means calibrating the sensor manually with the Komodo. Okay, enough specs talk. Let's see how both cameras perform in an uncontrolled environment. So I will mark the footage with a tiny A or B, and feel free to leave a comment which camera you think is which letter. And to make this as equal as possible, both cameras get the same V-mount and one backup battery, and both get a Sigma art glass with an aperture of 4 and the same Tiffen variable ND filter. I grabbed the Komodo, the E2F6, a good friend, and we went to a national forest called Eifel at -1 degree. Cut! Thanks, that's it.
Who are you?
I'm Sandro, and this is a review.
What's the review?
I knew it. Life is a lie and we are living in a simulation.
Let's get back to review. What a crazy day. We started at 11 o'clock and made the last shot at 6:30. There was enough battery for both cameras during this 7.5 hours at -1 degree. Starting with the Komodo, the V-mount was empty, but the backup battery had still 70%. And with the Z-Cam, the V-mount was about 50% and the NPF battery as well 50%. Looks like the V-mount cable went off sometimes of the Z-Cam. Under the bottom line, the Red Komodo takes a little bit more battery than the Z-Cam. Both cameras had no problems with the cold and the snow. Especially during this sledge ride, snow came from all sides against the camera, and like the back of the Z-Cam, all connection ports were full with snow, which melted and we just put it away. And the same was with the Red Komodo. Both sides of the fan were full with snow, which melted, and we just put it away. And nothing happened to both cameras. It looks like both cameras are snow resistant. Maybe not water resistant, but in the snow you can shoot with both cameras with no problems. There were just two technical problems which killed a little bit the flow. One with the Komodo and one with the Z-Cam. Starting with the Komodo. We changed locations and we were driving through a forest, and suddenly the sun came through the clouds, like backlight through the woods, and snow was falling down. It looked super nice and I knew I want that shot, like him, my friend, running through the woods and filming this. And I grabbed the Z-Cam and we made the shot. Then I switched the camera and the Komodos suddenly took like about 2 minutes or longer startup time. Maybe because to heat up the sensor, which is not a big deal in a controlled environment, but in this situation it took too long and the sun was gone. And the other one was with the Z-Cam at the lake. This situation we have to make very fast because my friends have to get off the clothes and we're ready to jump in, and I just pressed record and suddenly I got a slow card error, which never happened before with the SSD. And in this moment I just turned off the camera, plugged off the SSD, and I saw the cable was frozen. Then I just plugged back in the SSD and restarted the camera. I made a quick test shot if everything works, and it worked. And then we made the shot. During this testing, it took another 2 minutes to prepare everything, and my friends were standing without clothes, like, Sandro, come on, what's the problem here? Let's shoot. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, camera, okay, let's go. And yeah, these two problems are not really big deals in controlled environments, but that's what I wanted to test and to show you in this review, like to see the performance of both cameras in a new, uncontrollable environment. And I can say you can trust both cameras at 100%. There were no major data loss or fragmented files or empty batteries. We could continue shooting all day long. So, which letter was which camera? A was Z-Cam and B was Red Komodo. Now let's talk about the questions you had and the pros and cons of the topics. Let's talk about the interface. Starting with Komodo. The first pro, the touch screen is very bright during sunlight, but sometimes it doesn't respond properly, especially at the playback menu. Scrolling up and down. Another pro, you can easily jump where you want by scrolling from left to right. Another con, if you wear gloves, it doesn't respond. But in this case you can still use the buttons on the right side, which is close to the Zcam interface. The first pros of the Zcam interface are the custom buttons. You are able to customize close to any function to any button, even the buttons on the top. But to go through the menu takes a lot of clicking. Another pro, you're able to see the menu on your monitor. Another con, in playback you can only jump through the footage by pressing up and down buttons. Let's talk about the apps. To use the app with the Komodo you have to activate Wi-Fi and use the ad hoc mode. Then enter the password in your phone and open the app. The app of the Komodo has a live view and all settings at once on the screen. You're able to change all settings and resolutions with the app, but when you change settings, the live view gets very small. Another pro comes with the playback. It loads very fast and has a stable playback. To jump through the footage, slowly swipe to the right or left, like you know from other Red cameras. Another pro is the autofocus. It is outstanding good and super accurate. To connect the Zcam with your app, you have to activate the Wi-Fi. First pro, you are able to change all settings and resolutions easily during the live view. But the playback doesn't work properly on my iPhone 11 Pro. Another pro, you're able to connect multiple devices without any external router. You are able to tap and set the focus where you want and set A and B points in the app. But the continuous autofocus is not so accurate. If you want to go deeper into Zcam app, check out my smartphone rack review. Let's talk about global shutter. The Komodo has a global shutter sensor and no rolling shutter effect. The Zcam has rolling shutter, but there is a low jello mode available in 4K only with APC crop. This is the Komodo and this is the Zcam. Compared in one clip you can see the light rolling shutter effect on this tree. Let's talk about dynamic range and skin tones. Both cameras have a great dynamic range, and on the first look there's no big difference if you set the right exposure settings. I applied a 7 or 9 grade, a teal and orange look, and I adjusted the skin tones. With both footage it took me the same time. When it comes to over or underexposed shots, you have more opportunities to get back the color information in highlights and shadows with Red RAW. But if you want to take a closer look by your own, feel free to download the samples in the description. And if you're down there, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Let's talk about low light. Both low light performances are great. The Zcam has dual native ISO at 400 and 2500, which give you more opportunities in low light situations. This is how Red footage looks at ISO limit, and this is how Zcam looks at ISO limit in Z-RAW mode. The usable limits are ISO 1250 with the Komodo and 2500 with Z-RAW, or 20,000 at H.265 with the Zcam. So Zcam has with H.265 a brighter low light performance. Internal audio. I show you now 2 clips.
And this is the Red sound check. This is about 1 meter distance, and these about 2 meters, and here about 5 meters, and this should be 10 meters. And in the background you hear the German Autobahn, the background noise, where you can drive without speed limit. This is now the Zcam sound test, and I'm about 2 meters far, and I'm walking backwards while talking to about 5 meters. Yeah, that should be 5 meters. And here about 10 meters, and in the background you hear the German famous Autobahn, the highway where you can drive without speed limit.
After matching the audio, it looks like the Komodo has a little bit less background noise. Final question. Which one is better? To answer this question, you have to look, where are your projects right now, your current projects? And where are the final videos going? On big screens or small screens, social media screens? Does your project work without raw footage or a global shutter or high frame rates or interchangeable mounts? And if you want to take a closer look by yourself, you can download some samples in the description. And now I will let you know about the mysterious letter C in the mood cut. This was shot with a different camera, and please don't get me wrong, I don't want to fool you or sabotage this comparison. I shot this with my Sony a7S Mark II in Full HD 8-bit 50 frames per second in an underwater housing, because I wanted to increase this underwater screaming mood, so I just took what I had to get the best out of it. As long as you take the stuff what's around you to create your videos, and as long as you enjoy creating new videos, for sure other people will enjoy it too. I hope I could give you a nice insight, and if you still have some questions, leave it in the comments. And if you want to see more of my reviews, then make sure to subscribe and activate the bell. And a big thanks to my fellas running through the forest and jumping into that lake. And again, a big thanks to John Doe Films for the Red Komodo. So make sure to check out the rental. It's linked in the description. Have fun shooting and see you in the next one.
Cut! Thanks!
This is a simulation as well?